So today we'll be talking a bit about machine learning, the very basics, and the different types of learning that can be involved. We'll be going over supervised and unsupervised learning. So supervised learning is a very typical approach. Let's say we have a data set. This data set is typically referred to as X. X is just a very standard character that we'll just assign a data set to in machine learning. So if you see X data written in a paper or in some code, that's going to be the input data set. So let's pretend we have lots of pictures of cats and dogs. That's our data set. But we want to train an AI model to recognize whether it's a cat or a dog. Well, in supervised learning, we'll have labels. So labels just means that we'll have two classes. One class is a cat and one class is a dog. And then we'll sort this into our Y data set, our Y labels. So we'll have the cats all with label, say, 0, and the dogs all with label 1. Now, when we put that through a model, we'll typically train that, and different models will use different training algorithms. So without going into detail, let's just treat it as a black box and call it training. So we'll put our images in and we'll try and map it to the labels that it should. And after training this, our model should, to a high accuracy, look at an image and say it's a cat or it's a dog. Now, the other approach is unsupervised, and this is typically used in an environment where we don't have a labeled or a labeled data set. So let's think about having lots of petals, and these petals we could have the length of the petal and the width of the sepal, and we know that this will classify what sort of species this plant is, but we don't quite know what species it belongs to. And without sending a team of biologists into the field to go around manually calculating the widths and the lengths and then labeling this, which will take a long amount of time, we just want to plot this data and see if there's like manually classifiable about it. So let's say that we plot this and we've got the length and the widths of the different characteristics of the plants. We can see that clusters of this data might form. So here we've already labeled it with different colors to represent the different species. But say we didn't already know this, we could find a correlation between some of the classes and be able to use some sort of algorithm such as k-means clustering in order to group together these similar characteristics. So unsupervised learning is really useful if you don't have a data set and you don't have the means to gather it. And data gathering is a huge issue in AI, especially ethically gathering this data and trying to make sure that your data is correct. Let's use another example for unsupervised learning, something that might be a bit more relevant. Let's say we have a Netflix account, but also other streaming sites are available. We might be looking at different videos, and based off the genres, it will be able to pick what we like. Now, it doesn't have a training set because nobody's manually gone through our entire life of movie choices and labeled what we like and what we don't like. Instead, an algorithm labels this for you yourself. So let's say you're really into action movies and you watch a lot of different war movies. That will be found on the algorithm and it will start to recommend different movies to do with conflict and maybe even documentaries. Let's say instead you're really into romance movies, then it will recommend romantic movies. And let's say you're into both, perhaps it will find some wartime love movies. So today we've gone over the different approaches to learning. There's unsupervised and there is supervised learning. Hopefully this has given you a good idea of the basics of how we're going to represent data and how we're going to train AI models.